Today, we are looking at the birth chart of Jenn Hamilton, and I'm really excited for this one because even the stars indicate this woman is frickin' royalty. So, I actually had another chart lined up for today, but I was kind of thinking I wanted to do a female chart. I just couldn't quite find the right one until, well, the video that we all saw came out, and I kind of was like, okay, I have to look at her chart. And then, oh my God, once I saw the chart, I was like, this is it. This is the one. This is just definitely the chart of the moment. So, all right, let's get into it. So this is our chart right here, and I've kind of guessed the place of birth and time so that it shows up as a Cancer ascendant and Pisces midheaven, because that's kind of what made sense to me. Like, okay, she has to have Pisces somewhere, but we're going to leave that out of the commentary because I can't confirm those, so just ignore the houses for now. The moon is definitely in Leo, although we don't know exactly where it is, so we can't confirm, any of the aspects. But we do know for sure that Jenn is definitely a Leo sun with a Leo moon. In fact, she has a little bit of a stellium in Leo with the sun, moon, Venus, and Jupiter just kind of squeezes in at the edge of Leo. Like, I think Jupiter moved into Leo like on her birthday, so it's very, very close, or the day before, like on the 18th. Leos are born leaders. They are often warm, alluring, and feel very at home in the spotlight. They tend to be confident, charismatic, and they can be very protective of those they care about. They tend to dedicate a lot of time and energy into their close bonds. And if someone close to them is hurting, they take that personally. And if you're the thing or the person that caused someone in a Leo's inner circle harm or hurt, you are in big trouble. You've probably just made an enemy. So a Leo stellium, especially with three personal planets, that's just going to amplify the Leo energy and make it way more obvious. So the sun is basically like what you see or what you project into the world. The moon is a more of an internal thing. It's kind of like how you relate. And then Venus rules relationships. So this girl is probably going to be fiercely loyal and I would say quite the romantic. That's just generally Venus in Leo tends to be like that. You tend to put a lot of energy into your partnership. And then we have Jupiter at the very start of Leo, kind of trying to get in on the action, which is actually a really potent placement for Leo. It's kind of saying like, wait, I'm here now and I have this amazing idea. It's like this burst of creative energy in the same sign as her sun, moon, and Venus. So like she just radiates light. Like Leo is also like the sign of the sun. So it's just like this radiating energy. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is this beautiful grand trine in the earth signs. And a grand trine is when there are three planets 120 degrees from each other, so they form an equilateral triangle within the natal chart. And each 120 degrees is we call that a trine. So a grand trine is considered to be one of the most harmonious patterns in astrology, and in my opinion, the grand trine and the earth signs are the most stable. So Jenn has Mercury in Virgo, Mars in Taurus, and the most significant placement is retrograde Saturn in Capricorn. So let's break that down a little. Mercury is the sign of communication, so it rules how we absorb information and how we broadcast it. And Mercury in Virgo is not somebody who minces their words. Virgo is detail-oriented, discerning, and practical. So Mercury here is very good at analyzing a situation and communicating ideas clearly and efficiently. I would say efficiently is a big one. And this isn't just like an intellectual thing, which I think sometimes people often forget about Virgo. Virgo is also a sign of service. So this isn't just communication for communication's sake. It's communication in service of something. Then we've got Mars in Taurus, and this is another really potent placement. Taurus is practical, steady, and deliberate. Taurus doesn't like to skip steps. It kind of takes maybe unnecessary, boring steps to get where it's going. And Mars is the action planet. So Mars and Taurus don't always love being together. And in fact, Mars is considered to be in detriment when it's in Taurus. Mars wants to move fast and Taurus wants to move right. But since this placement is harmoniously aspected by two other placements, they are going to have an easier time working together. And when they do work together, so much can be achieved because you're able to focus and move towards your goals. Most interesting placement in this grand trine, in my humble opinion, is Saturn retrograding through Capricorn. So Saturn is Capricorn's natural ruler, so it feels completely at home here. Capricorn is an ambitious sign, but it's also practical, so practical ambition. It's good at taking a dream, a vision, and actually putting it into reality. Saturn also rules institutions, so it's a very stable sign. And it suggests that whatever is being built under this placement is that it's going to last. And the part that I love the most is that Saturn is in retrograde. So a retrograde planet tends to turn the energy inwards. So the inspiration for this creation isn't coming from outside influence, it's coming from within. Saturn is the rule follower, but with this placement, it kind of feels like Jenn is following her own moral compass, which I love. And this isn't just a grand trine, it's a kite, which means the grand trine has a direction or focal point. The focal point in this grand trine is the Capricorn placement, and this is where it gets really beautiful. Directly opposite Saturn in Capricorn, at the kite's tail, we find Chiron in Cancer. The kite's tail completes the kite formation. It opposes the focal point while staying in harmony with the other two placements. Chiron is the wound, and when it heals, the scar it leaves behind is what you learn to help others with. In the sign of Cancer, the Chiron wound is all about emotional safety. So when we look at the kite as a whole, the Mars in Taurus drive, the Mercury in Virgo communication, the disciplined action of Saturn in Capricorn, we're building something real, something tangible, in service of something tender and nurturing, something to do with home, family, emotional safety, care. I know I'm kind of breezing through some of these explanations, but I just don't want this to run too long. I am going to touch on one more thing, though, and that is the North Node in Aquarius, which is opposite Venus in Leo. So first, what that means is that Venus is conjunct her South Node, because the North Node and the South Node are always opposite. And the South Node is like where you feel comfortable. And in a way, it's sort of like what we're moving away from in this life. Like our purpose is kind of to figure out what part of the South Node we need to let go of a little bit. And then we move towards the North Node, which can feel a little bit uncomfortable. That's kind of like your life's purpose in a nutshell, very briefly. So Venus in Leo, we already touched on a little bit as part of her core personality. And for someone with such a strong Leo signature, like her sun and her moon are in Leo, there's something probably deeply familiar about having Venus there too, something comforting. So it's already woven into how she shows up in the world and how she feels, right? And then Venus in Leo, is kind of how she relates to others. So in a relationship, that shows up as warmth, enthusiasm, passion. So she's probably really good at making the people she loves feel special, genuinely, individually seen. Opposite that, what we have kind of like pulling against it is the North Node in Aquarius, which is changing the focus towards the collective, not necessarily what's in your immediate sphere. Okay, now this is significant for two reasons. First, collectively, the North Node is moving into Aquarius on July 27th, 2026. So this entire area of her chart is about to be activated. And that'll be going on for the next, roughly 18 months, where she'll definitely really feel like a push-pull between what feels comfortable and what feels more aligned and what she feels like she wants to be moving towards. So there's going to be a real opportunity to align with something bigger than herself, or if you want to call it her soul's purpose. And then the second part of this is the aspect itself, Venus opposite North Node, or Venus in Leo, even opposite North Node. It can show up as kind of like a push-pull between personal devotion and a calling towards something larger, between making one person or one relationship feel singularly special and instead showing up for something more collective or universal. So I'm not going to pretend to know exactly what that means for her specific relationship. Only she knows that. But I mean, the timing, the transit landing right now in this really public moment, it feels really hard to ignore. Okay, and then so the last piece to this puzzle is Pluto is in conjunction with the North Node. So Pluto, the Lord of the Underworld, planet of transformation, disruption, and hidden truths, is activating her North Node and opposing the Venus in Leo. So this isn't just coincidence. It's a fated course correction, basically, and it probably feels like really, really intense. Like I know we can, yeah. And it's not just about her either. Everyone born within a few months of August 1990 is going to be feeling some version of this right now. At least the Pluto conjunct the North Node, which is an activation of like, oh my gosh, am I going in the right direction? So if you were born within a few months of August 1990, let me know in the comments and tell me what you're going through. I just want to leave with this one thought, which is that we all still have free will. I mean, when I look at this chart, I'm excited, but I'm excited because of what I already know about this person. Like, I look at this chart and I think, oh my gosh, this is a beautiful soul with a ton of potential, using every single ounce of it to, just do some good in the world. And I am so here for that. And I really want to make the distinction that the stars gives you opportunity. They're kind of like a roadmap written in code that only your soul truly understands. They open doors, but you're the one who has to walk through those doors. So who you are and what you do with those opportunities, some of which can feel very hard and even scary, like that's what matters. And there you have it, a brief overview of a woman who, by all accounts, is meeting a super intense moment with grace and kindness. So let me know in the comments if there's anyone specific you'd like me to look at next. And if you're into this kind of psychological chart reading, don't forget to subscribe for more like it.